All right. So today I am going to define very precisely what is category of G spaces, and I will go on to affine spaces, and this will also make a preparation for mixing linear algebra with group actions. That is the idea. And such a material usually you don't find in the standard books. So older books will give such exposition time to time, but the standard books probably what you have used in your BSc, MSc curriculum, they may not address to such things. All right. So category of G spaces. So G is a group that is given to us and that is fixed in this discussion. And I just said recall that G space, or I was calling it G set earlier, but it may be better to call it a G space. I have learned through the experience from the last time. So, and also I have checked that some books do call it G spaces. So G space is a pair of what? A set along with an operation of G on X. That I am calling it H. And this operation will depend on the set X. So therefore, I have this X in the upper. I cannot put it below for obvious reasons. Or equivalently, we saw that is giving H and operation is equivalent to saying X and the group homomorphism. That is what I have written. So Hx is an operation map. This is an operation map. And that is we are denoting like this. So in order to simplify the notation, we have abbreviated this H upper X G comma X by G times X. But that is understood, it is a fixed operation of G on X whenever we talk about a G space. Different operations will give you different G space. So the corresponding action homomorphism is denoted by theta X. That is G going to S of X. S of X is a permutation group on the set X. And this operation is G is going to theta G, and theta G must be a bijective map from X to X. Remember, bijectivity is important, and that is where one needs the fact that G is a group. In principle, there is a more general concept that the monoids are also operating on the sets, but I am not considering that. Then you will have to change the appropriately. And it is also important in nowadays getting more important in IT industry. All right. So that is a group homomorphism. Theta X is a group homomorphism from G to Sx. So sometimes we have seen, we have seen in the first lecture, giving an H is equivalent to giving theta X, and giving theta X is equivalent to giving H with the properties, of course. Here I have to write the properties for H. Once I say it's a group homomorphism, then I don't have to write, that is built in that. All right, so that is a G space. Now I'm defining a morphism or G homomorphism from one G space to the other G space. So that is the map F from the set X to Y is called a G homomorphism if it satisfies this condition, that is, it is compatible with the operations of G on X and Y. So that means whether you operate small g on small x and then apply F, or you apply map first and then apply G operation of G on that element Fx, where Fx is in Y. So you see here, we are writing the same, but it is understood that where we are operating the maps. And this requires slight maturity with the notation that you are using and sensitivity that what you are writing. All right. So what does this mean? This means this diagram is commutative. This is an operation map. Hx is operation map of G. That is map from G cross X to X. Similarly, G cross Y to Y, there is an operation map. And this vertical map here, it's identity on G, and this is second cross F, and here is map F, and this diagram is commutative is precisely this condition. All right, that is what I have checked here. So I would request you go through this. This is very important. Don't believe anybody. You better to check yourself. If you have trouble, I am there to clarify the doubts you have. But the doubt should make sense, and also it should not be irrelevant to this discussion. Last time I saw some discussion went on irrelevant. So that caused some concern to me, and also it killed some time. All right. So this is equivalent to saying now somebody may use this group homomorphism. Then I have just translated that into group homomorphism. That is why I wrote equivalently for all G in G, the following diagram is commutative. And what is the diagram? For all G. So small g is given, and for all G, there are many such diagrams, as many as there are elements in G. And this diagram is commutative, means when you go from X, then apply theta G of X, you get another element in X, then apply F, or you apply X, F to that X, so you get Fx, and then apply theta G. And as I notice now here, this is not X, this is Y. Such writing mistake might have occurred, so please check if I have made some writing error. So for example, see here, I made some in a last page. This is the last page from the last lecture, and there was some not very precise statement here. That's why I wrote improve and see the next lecture. That is, the explanation is now here very precise. Now, is it clear that what is a G space and what is the homomorphism of G space? If it is not, please raise your concern now, because this is what I am going to use again and again. So is it clear? And I think you also have to respond to the questions. Can I go on?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So that is a G homomorphism or G morphism. Okay, immediately from the definition, I want to write down some consequences. If you have a G homomorphism from a G space X to G space Y, then the image of every orbit is contained in the orbit of Y. So that means more precisely f of Gx orbit at X, image of this orbit under F is contained in the orbit of Fx. And it induces a map on the orbit spaces. These quotient spaces are called orbit spaces. Right? X to this is a quotient map. Y to Y by G, this is a quotient map. These are called orbit spaces. Let me mention here. These are orbit spaces. And the slash is on left to right because we are considering left operation. Operation is on the left always. So this diagram is commutative. So you start with X, go to the orbit, and then go to. So this map is determined by this because this orbit has gone into this orbit. So that is well defined, and therefore it induces a map on the quotient spaces. So that was about the orbits. What about the fixed points? So on the fixed points of X, F will induce a map and it will carry to the fixed points of Y. Again, all these statements are trivial from this definition. Because if X is fixed, then Gx is X and F of X is. So, but I would still say you please check it. What happened to the isotropies? So that is the next statement. The isotropy group at X is the subgroup of the isotropic group at Fx. That is G suffix X is a subgroup of G suffix Fx. These are again very easy, but I think when you go home, you should write down these proofs very precisely. Anytime you have doubt, you raise the concern either in the tutorial session or in my next lecture. No problem. Now, immediately after the definition, you should have some examples of this kind. So first of all, identity map of a G space is always a G homomorphism. Composite map of two G homomorphisms is again a G homomorphism. And such thing you would have checked many times in many different contexts, but the strategy is similar, like continuous composite of continuous map is continuous, identity map is always continuous, and things like that. And this kind of thing will come in every subject, not only in groups or this, it comes in every subject. And as usual, home, suffix G, X, Y, these I will denote the set of all G homomorphisms from the G space X to G space Y. All right. When do you call a G homomorphism to be G isomorphism? If it is bijective and the inverse map of F, that is we usually denote F inverse, that should also be G homomorphism. That is part of the definition. Whether it is a consequence or not, it's a different story, but it is a part of the definition. For example, when you say group homomorphism is isomorphism, when it is bijective, and F inverse is also group homomorphism. But is that a consequence of the group homomorphism? Do we have to get away with the saying that F inverse, once it is bijective, F inverse is always a homomorphism of groups? Please answer. Your answers will help me to design my strategy. Can somebody answer? Hello?
So can you please repeat the question?
My question is very simple. If I have a group homomorphism from some group G to G prime, and suppose it is bijective, is it true that the inverse map F inverse is always a group homomorphism?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. It needs a little checking, but it is true. Right? So this thing may not happen in topology. For example, you might have seen if we have a bijective map, bijective continuous map from one topological space to the other topological space, is it always a homeomorphism?
No, it's not. Even
No,
it's not.
It's not. So you know the examples, right? So therefore it depends on subject to subject. But definitely definition is same in every subject. Definition, it says a map is called a homeomorphism you use in the topology. But you can also say that isomorphism of topological spaces if it is bijective and the inverse map is also homomorphism. That means also it is continuous. These small things are very important to grow. All right. Now, when do you say an endomorphism? And again, here I have a writing error. This is not endomorphism of G, but endomorphism of X. G endomorphism of X. It is a group, it's a G homomorphism from the same G set to the same G space to the same G space. Then you call it endo. All right. If it is an isomorphism, then you call it a G automorphism. And therefore, N suffix Gx is a home Gxx. That means all G homomorphism from the G space X2 itself. And odd G is isomorphisms, G isomorphisms from the G space X to G space X. That is what we have just abbreviated, automorphism. And note that this automorphism of X, of a G space X. This is automorphisms are by definition they are bijective, so therefore they are actually the permutations on X. And not only that, this automorphism is a group, and that is actually a subgroup of the permutation group. That simply means that it is a group under composition. And this is also group to study. This is what I am going to do it. And we do it in every subject, not only here, but every subject we do this study, either knowing or unknowingly. All right, so therefore, what does it have? Therefore, what? So I have written in the blue ink now. Therefore, the odd Gx acts canonically on X by automorphisms. That simply means I am giving you what is the theta map. Theta map is the inclusion map. And I said acts canonically, canonical because it's just the inclusion map. And by automorphisms, actually the image of that action goes inside the odd X. Therefore, one says that it is acting by automorphisms. Like, for example, the conjugation operation of G on G is, so G acts on G by inner automorphisms. That is the adjective one gets to that action. But Kelly operation is not like that. Kelly operation of G on G is not by automorphisms. It is by left translations, and left translations are not group homomorphisms. So that is it. We denote the G spaces like this, double underline. This is the category of G spaces where the objects are G spaces and morphisms are G homomorphisms. And we do have to do some checking to say that it form a category. I don't know how many of you really have know, or how many of you really know what is the definition, what is the formal definition of category. May I ask anybody who knows precise definition of a category?
Yes, sir.
Who is it? Can you please put on your video?
I've put it on.
But I don't see it.
You said video, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I have put it on. I mean, at least I can see myself.
Yeah, he is there.
Yes. Where are you from? What is your name?
I'm Ishan.
Ishan.
Yes, sir.
You are from where?
Shivnadar University.
Shivnadar University. All right. So where did you do your BSc, MSc?
Sir, I am doing my undergraduate. I'm doing it from Shivnadar itself.
All right. Can you please briefly tell us what is the category?
Yes. A category consists of a category is a 5-tuple where the entries of the 5-tuple are the objects, the morphisms, you have a partial composition function, you have domain and codomain functions. And domain and codomain are functions from the morphisms to the objects. Okay. Composition is defined. Composition is a partial function, which is defined. One second. Let me. So if the domain of G is equal to the codomain of F, then the composite of GF is defined. That's why I said composition is a partial function. It is defined only when the codomain of. Sorry.
What is the partial function?
So what you can do is for every pair, for every triple of sets A, B, and C, you can define a single composition function which takes morphisms from A to B and B to C and returns their composite morphism from A to C. And there are some further details which I have to tell you, which is that for
I don't want to hear the details right now. But tell me, when you say the objects,
yes, sir.
Do they always form a set?
That depends on your foundations. If you form naive set theory, then no, you can say there's a category of sets.
So
where
what
the
are the
objects
objects
will
there?
form.
What are the objects?
They're all sets, so this will form a class. However, there is an alternate formulation using Grothendieck universes. And if you use Grothendieck universes, you say that a universe is a certain set, which is a model of ZFC, and you say that there's a category set subscript U. Okay, and what happens in the... Sorry, are you saying something?
All right. I have got an idea, but we don't want to do these complicated things in our concrete subjects. We only mostly deal with category of sets, category of groups, category of rings, category of vector spaces, no category of G spaces, and this thing. See, the abstract category theory, we are not so much interested because that will will divert our mind from the concrete things to the abstract, more abstract things. All right, so you may put off your video if you wish. So that is the category of G spaces. Now, is the definition of category of G spaces clear to you, Ishan?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I will go on now. And now I want to make some definition. So G is a group and X be a G space. Then the definition one, it says that I will call X to be homogeneous G space if the G operation on X is transitive. And recall the transitive means, first of all, that set X has to be non-empty and only one orbit. That means the orbit space of X is singleton. That's what I wrote in that book. What does that mean exactly? Now, second, X is called an affine G space if the G operation, I said D because once you say X is a G space, that is given to us the fixed G operation of G on X. If it is a different operation, then we call it a different G space. Please remember this. So that is why I use the adjectives here, D. This is what was creating confusion last time. So X is called a G space, affine G space, if the G operation of X is simply transitive. Now, simply transitive means it is simple and transitive. And what does that mean? That means X is transitive means X is a homogeneous G space. And if one stabilizer is trivial, then all stabilizers are trivial. That means all stabilizers are trivial. Then you call it a affine G space. Is that clear? And you will say that I always, last time also I was mentioning these things we were studying right from the school days, and you will see how I will come to that. And what will I do? I would like to characterize homogeneous G spaces and affine G spaces up to G isomorphism. Is that clear? The definitions, are they clear? Soon I will also give examples. When I say example, that means a concrete example that we deal with. Is that clear or anybody has a question? Don't hesitate to ask.
Question, sir.
Who is it, please?
Akshay, sir. Akshay.
Akshay, please. Akshay, where are you from?
Sir, I am from Haryana, sir. I am doing my PhD from IIIT Allahabad.
IIIT?
Allahabad.
Allahabad. Acha.
Yes.
Bolo. Can you put on your video?
Sir, my system has no camera, sir.
Okay,
I'm using my
fine.
desktop.
Fine. Ask me your question
Sir,
or query.
Sir, if this action is transitive and cardinality of X is same as cardinality of G, then can we say that this then this X is affine space?
What are you asking?
So if
If
cardinality of X is
X and G have the same cardinality and
action is transitive,
yes,
then can we say that this is a fine space?
what makes you to think that it should be simple fine G space?
Because sir, if we use this orbit stabilizer,
Simple means what? All
sir,
stabilizers. You will see that is not true. You will see when I give you next example.
okay, sir.
That's not true. Because you are not saying something about the stabilizers, no? Then how can it be simple? You will see next trivial examples. Actually, it's good that you ask this question because I know then what kind of difficulties you guys get. Then I can change my strategy. So example. So now remember our aim. Our aim is to characterize all homogeneous G spaces and all affine G spaces up to G isomorphism. Do you understand that phrase? Up to G isomorphism. What is the characterization up to G isomorphism means? Is that clear? Akshay, is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
What does that mean? Can you please tell me? Yes. Anybody can spell out what do I mean by this characterization up to G isomorphism?
You want to say that if two objects satisfy a certain property, then they're isomorphic.
Who is saying?
Ishan.
Ishan, why don't you be concrete in this case? Spell out what do I mean by G spaces isomorphic, G isomorphic characterization means what? Concretely, you tell me, no, we have why unnecessary bring in so much complicated category theory? We are not going to study category theory. We are going to only study G space category.
Sir, we want to find how many
Yes,
different
so
spaces are.
So what should it mean? So for example, I will tell you an example. How many cyclic groups are there of a given order? Up to isomorphism.
Sir,
One.
only single Zn.
Very good. Who is answering?
Ishan. Or someone else as well, and not just me.
Who has answered? It was the voice of the girl, I think.
Sonakshi.
Sonakshi, very good. That is what answer I want, up to the point. So she says there is only one group up to isomorphism of a given one group, one cyclic group up to isomorphism of a given order. And that is what? That is what, Sonakshi? What is that group?
So Zn, integer modulo n.
Z modulo n. Very good, Sonakshi. That means if you know Z modulo n, then you know all cyclic groups of order n. What about infinite?
Z. It's isomorphic to Z.
Who has answered? Ishan, you have answered.
Yes, I did answer, sir.
What
But
is that?
Sonakshi also answered, I believe.
What is the answer?
Z. Any infinite cyclic group is isomorphic to Z.
And what is the group operation?
On Z? On
Yes.
It's addition.
Yes. So that is also important to say.
Yes, I realize. I thought that usually the convention is when you say Z, I thought it means addition, but I understand I might have had to specify that.
So
Sorry.
you have to say,
Yes, sorry.
because that will describe that group. Otherwise, people will say, what group operation? All right. So that means I want to list all the homogeneous G spaces and homogeneous G spaces up to isomorphism. And like the model for finite cyclic group is Z mod n, and the model for infinite cyclic group is Z under addition. All right, those are the models. So now let us see the example that would also clear Your doubts, who has asked? Akshay. Yes. So this is the example. So G is a group, any group, and the most natural simple transitive operation of G. See, whenever you define some concept, you also look for very natural examples. So I have written the most natural simple transitive operation of G on G is the Cayley operation of G on G. So X is G and G is operating on G by left multiplication, or operation is simply the group operation in G. That is the operation. If I have to say what is the action homomorphism, that is that lambda map G going to S of G, G going to left multiplication by G. And that is clearly a permutation of G, and that either you think like this or think like this, depending on what you are comfortable or depending on what you want to prove. So that, do you agree that this is transitive operation? Yes. Transitive means what? There is
Yes,
only
sir.
one orbit.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is.
What is the orbit?
Sir, the whole G.
Whole G is orbit. Isn't it clear?
Yes.
Yes. Is it simple?
Yes, sir.
What are the isotropies?
Sir, only the trivial group.
Very good. That you have checked. And this is very simple example. And what I am going to prove, if you have any other affine G space, it is G isomorphic to this Cayley operation. And that would finish the problem for characterization for the affine G spaces. Isn't it? Yes, please.
Yes.
If you have doubt, you ask me. So what do you have to prove? I am first taking up a characterization for affine G spaces. And I got hold of a model example, that is the Cayley operation. And we have checked that it is simple transitive. And now I will take any other affine G space and show it to you it is G isomorphic to the Cayley operation of G on G. Is that clear, the aim? All right. So start with any affine G space. X is affine G space. That you understood what it means. That means it's a G space, and affine means it is simple and transitive. The operation of G on X is simple and transitive. And now what do I say next? You choose a point X, X0, arbitrary point. Why can't you choose it? Because X is non-empty, that is a part of the transitive definition. Right? So each and every word I am going to write, or you write every time, you have to have justification in your mind, no matter how trivial it is. All right, so choose X0 in X arbitrary. Then what happens? Then I'm giving you a map from G to X. What is the map? G going to Gx0. Makes sense or not? G is operating on X, therefore Gx0 makes sense. So this map makes sense. I want to say this map is bijective. And it's a G homomorphism. If G operates on G by Cayley operation. Now what is, so I have this affine G space X, and I have G, and here I am taking the operation Cayley operation. With that, it is also affine G space, because we have checked that this Cayley operation is simple transitive. And I have given you map. So first of all, I have to check that this map is a G homomorphism. Secondly, I have to check it is bijective. See, I have underlined those, what you need to check. And thirdly, we will check that it is a G isomorphism. Actually, it's enough if I check bijective and G homomorphism, then it is an isomorphism of G spaces. So more important to check it is a bijective map and it is G homomorphism. So now let us check first it is bijective. So bijective, is it clear or we have to check? So suppose G and G prime, they go to the same element. I'm telling the proof orally. G and G prime, they go to the same element. And what is that element they are going to? G is going to G x naught, G prime is going to G prime x naught, and we are assuming G x naught equal to G prime x naught. And what do we want to conclude? We want to conclude G is G prime. Well, then you multiply this equation by G inverse. So on one side you'll get x naught, other side you'll get G inverse G prime x naught. That means G inverse G prime keep x naught fixed. So that means, but then what?
Stabilizers
So
are
G inverse G is
G,
E. That is
yeah. G inverse times G prime is in the stabilizer of x naught. But all stabilizers are trivial because our operation is simple transitive. And therefore G equal to G prime. So I proved it is injective. Surjective? Surjective is obvious because of the transitivity. Right? So therefore, what we have proved is X is affine G space, then this affine G space have to be isomorphic to the Kelly operation of G on G. Now is it clear? If you don't answer, I have
Yes,
to
sir.
answer. I have to call you by name and say whether is it clear. Now, Ishan, this proof is clear to you?
Yes, sir. I didn't say it was not clear, sir.
Not clear.
No, I'm saying I did not say that it was not clear. So it is clear.
Okay. And now I have written some note. Note that there is no canonical choice for the, I call it origin x naught in X, in contrast to the fact that G has identity element EG, which is an exceptional element. This comment makes very much sense. At this point, I would also remind you to have a look at this supplement which I wrote. You should look at the supplement. And then, so this is what you were doing in school or college. I don't know where you were doing it, school or college. And that was, in the school, it was called an elementary geometry. And in the college, probably it was called some analytic geometry or something. So I would request you to look at this. And I will do it also soon. So therefore, we know all simple transitive operations of a group. So therefore, it's very important to note here, the crux of the matter is that simple looking Kelly operation contains a lot of information. One says it is very simple and one didn't bother much about it later. So Kelly was a originator of group theory in a modern group theory. All right. So now I have to prove, what is that I have to prove? Transitive. But before that, I made some remarks about these affine G spaces, which might help to further notation. I would like also to choose a notation which we are familiar in a school geometry. And the whole idea of my these so many lectures in AFS, I want to mix linear algebra, geometry, and group theory all together. And therefore, it is very important to lay down the exact foundation. which I am doing. All right. Suppose you have a affine G space and two points in X. Elements of X are also called points. So X and Y. Then we know because it is affine means transitive and it is simple. Therefore, you can find a unique element G in G such that Y is Gx. And this unique element G, unique, it depends only on the points X and Y. Therefore, I am going to denote it by this XY bar, XY arrow above. With this, G is called, that means what am I trying to say here? I am going to say that I want to recover that group from X. All right, so G is, you can realize G as, you can identify, realize means G, you can identify elements of G as translation on that set X. Translation means X will be Gx. Each different G will give you different translation. And therefore, one can keep saying that G is a group of translations of X. All right. Now, before I go to characterization of homogeneous G spaces, which I have started here. Actually, I just have to patch up things, what happened in the tutorials by Parnoshri and our exercise sheet, that we have to bring in pieces together and see that we have already done this. But we will do this. But before that, I want to give another example of the affine space. And this is very, very classical example which arise from elementary geometry. And what is that? So I am going to choose my group, the additive group of the vector space. More concretely, if you want, you can see the supplement. See the supplement. See here, I drew the pictures. And this is what exactly you are doing in school geometry and proving theorems. See, all this we were doing in school geometry and nothing. And that actually gave us a definition of, I mentioned, no, the definition of Hermann Weyl. That is an affine G space definition. So that is here I want to start. So V the vector space over K. In the school, the only difference is in the school we were not taking arbitrary field, we were taking a real numbers, field of real numbers. And vector space V also we were taking R2, R3 and so on. Mostly we were doing R2 and R3 only. Two-dimensional and three-dimensional vector space over real numbers. But here, the way I wrote, I don't want to assume anything on the K. K is the arbitrary field, including a finite field. And V is a vector space, arbitrary vector space. Maybe finite dimensional, may not be finite dimensional. When trouble comes, we will start assuming. That always happens. If you have a trouble in proving any statement, then we keep putting the assumptions because we want to prove theorems. All right. So, what is an affine space? It's a non-empty set E. E is a set of points. E is a set and it is non-empty. Together with an operation of the additive group of V plus, such that this operation map satisfies which I have written the properties. Operation map, which I am denoting X going to X plus P, because plus I am using because the operation on the group I am talking is a V plus. And this operation, if you check what I have written, for each pair of points P and Q in E, there exists a unique X so that Q equal to X plus P. This simply means that operation is simple transitive. Uniqueness makes it simple, and there exist makes it transitive. The only thing, if at all change something, is the change in the notation. So this is the operation map I have given. This is simple transitive. Again, I have called it. There is only one orbit. Orbit is singleton. Orbit space is singleton, and that orbit is the whole E. And the isotropic group at P for every P is trivial. That is because it is simple transitive. This is very important. Affine G space, all isotropies are trivial, and there is only one orbit. Orbit space is singleton. Non-empty is of course part of the transitive definition. Is the clear definition now? So therefore, again, this because that X is unique, I am going to write it like here I have written. I am going to write that X equal to P to Q. PQ vector. And then this equation, how do I write Q equal to X plus P? So I have written Q equal to P plus this vector PQ. And this is what you will see in the whole writing in the supplement. We have done that. And this supplement requires no background. No background, no category, no functors and nothing. This is very, very concrete examples. So when we were doing in a school geometry, for example, theorems like if you have a rectangle, then the diagonals intersect what? That you can prove it by using this very easily. All right. So please have a look at this. And I'm going to develop more machinery on this. All right. So that is an affine space over a vector space. For example, V is an affine space over V. Now I take that points, the set of points to be V only. Then what is that operation? I want to give one simple transitive operation on V. Actually, we have discussed there is only one, and that is nothing but the operation in that group. And that is what it is. Xy going to X plus Y is the only simple transitive operation on V plus up to isomorphism. So it's only the name may change. That addition, that multiplication operation, what we are using it here, that became, where is it? It's here. That operation, this operation, Cayley operation, is precisely this operation on V. This is also Cayley operation. Only then, because we are denoting vector space additive group by plus operation. That is why this. Now let me make 1 minute stop and say, is the definition clear of an affine space? Is the definition clear?
Yes, sir.
Who has answered? Don't be afraid. Why are you afraid? We are
Sonakshi.
discussing. Sonakshi, very good. Ishan, is it clear to you the definition? Hello? Are you there or gone? I don't know. Maybe he has gone. All right.
Hello, sir.
Sorry.
Hello, sir. What is addition here? X, small x plus p.
That's what I've been yelling sometime, that V is a vector space Doesn't that mean he has a plus operation?
But sir, the set is P, and that can be any set.
What unique set you are saying?
Okay, okay. Okay, sir. Understood.
Anuj, you're Anuj, you know?
No, sir, Arnab.
Anuj,
Sir, Arnab.
Arnab,
Yes.
where are you from?
Sir, I'm from Bolpur, actually, West Bengal.
West Bengal. Can you put on your video? All right, Anuj. Everything I have written there, and how did the doubt come to you? I don't understand. There is something else in your mind.
Yes, sir.
What bothered you?
Sir, you have written in here E can be any set, any non-empty set.
E can be any set.
Okay.
And what does E plus is operating on E means what?
Sir, the additive
Is a
group.
map
Yes.
from the group cross X to X. That's what I've written.
Yes, sir.
No?
Yes, sir. But sir, my question is, what is the description of small x plus p?
Okay, let me answer my question. Before I answer this, you have to answer my question. When you write here, G comma X going to G times X, what does that mean?
Okay, so that is that just the image of that action.
Yes, and that is what you have chosen to denote.
Okay.
And why did you write Gx? Because the operation of G, we are looking at it as a multiplicative operation, no? That we made a choice. That's like parent, that is your parent choice. Same reason.
Yes, yes,
So
sir.
the group under discussion is V plus.
Yes, sir.
And therefore that notation.
Okay, sir.
All
And
right?
sir, in that previous note, can you scroll up a bit?
Here. Here.
Yes, sir, there is a note you said. Why?
Here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In this note, while if you have any transitive action, so all those points in that G on all those points in that set G set.
To give the isomorphism, I have to make a choice.
Okay.
That X0 I have chosen fix. X0 I have chosen arbitrary element in X. But that choice, that's what this note says. That choice is the same as when you studied, for example, geometry in the school.
Yes, sir.
Origin was not given to you, no? So you had a freedom to choose origin. And that's what that note is. All right, so think about it. So this is the choice I'm saying. The choice, there is no special way to choose a point in X. For example, there is a very special element in a group G that we can always choose. That is namely the identity element. That is what it says here. All right, anybody has a doubt again? See, if you have such questions, please ask. Otherwise, the next expositions will become more complicated for your mind. All right, so our time is also coming up. So before I read this, I have to finish this tying up with the characterization of homogeneous G spaces, which we already have done it. But not in this language. So for example, in one of the exercise, what Purnashri was discussing, that whenever G is a subgroup of G, then you look at the G by H left cosets of H in G, That I'm denoting by the set XH. Because I have to get a feeling that this is a set and G is operating on that. And that's what she discussed. The G is operating on XH. Very natural action. What was the action? Any G and any coset that goes to the coset GXH. And if you notice, this operation is also induced by the Kelly operation. And she has proved it is a transitive G space. That means it is a homogeneous G space. And also, she has computed the isotropies. Isotropies at the coset H is the subgroup H, and the isotropies at XH, isotropy subgroup at XH is precisely the conjugate of XH, conjugate XH, X inverse of H. So what does it show? This shows that from this XH, you get recover the whole bunch H and conjugate subgroups of H. So tying up together up to G isomorphism, these are the only homogeneous G spaces. And I wanted to write more precise statement. So what should be that more precise statement? If I start with any homogeneous G space, it will be isomorphic to XH for some H. And what will be that H? That will be one of the isotropy. Because if you know one isotropy, then you know all are conjugates. So therefore, sometimes we say that if you have a transitive operation, then isotropy of this operation is the full conjugacy class of the subgroup H. Now, I have not written here, but I want you to write a precise statement here. Next time when we will start, our time is coming up. Next time I start my lecture, I will show you the precise statement which I wrote. But before that, I will ask you what is the statement, precise statement. That is one. Then I am going to study these affine spaces more intimately. And I will come up with some groups